Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out this massive bearish divergence on the larger timeframes, while the US stock market is now pulling back harshly from all-time highs, which is not good news for crypto, as we're now starting to see Bitcoin break back below this very crucial level on the price chart, which we need to pay attention to. So in just a moment, I'll be talking about my exact Bitcoin trading strategy alongside talking about Ethereum, which is now retesting this exact area of support that we need to pay attention to after perfectly rejecting from my exact resistance, while the price of XRP is now also perfectly rejecting from this exact resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a look at the US stock market, because currently, as of recording this video, the US stock market is starting to pull back from the latest all-time highs. Of course, in the previous candle right here, the previous trading day, just yesterday, we saw a massive push into new all-time highs. And while that was happening, especially over the last few days, over the last 1 week or so, we have been seeing a move up in the short term in not just the stock market, but also the crypto market. Because in case you're new to all of this, crypto and the stock market are highly correlated. And so, for example, when we saw that massive flash crash in the US stock market a couple of weeks ago, of course, that also helped to trigger a massive flash crash liquidation event in the crypto market a couple of weeks ago on the 10th of October. And then ever since then, once again, we've seen a recovery in the stock market, a bit of a bounce in a lot of the crypto market. But right now, stocks are starting to pull back, possibly entering into a little bit more of a cool off after we just hit new all-time highs in the stock market, which once again can help cause a bit of a pullback in the crypto market, especially if this continues in the stock market. And so even though this is a crypto channel, of course, from time to time, I'll talk about the US stock market, especially if it's making major moves like all-time highs or starting a pullback, for example, because as I've said over many years now on this crypto channel, the crypto market is highly correlated to the US stock market, especially the tech stocks. Like, for example, right here, this is the QQQ. In other words, the NASDAQ 100 index, currently starting a slight pullback from all-time highs. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, here on the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But if we're looking at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, of course, we're still seeing massive lower highs already confirmed in place in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, alongside the higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes over the last multiple months. In fact, throughout this entire year, since the end of 2024 onwards, we've been seeing higher highs in the price on the larger timeframes, the weekly timeframe, and lower highs in the RSI, which is a massive bearish divergence, telling us that even though we've not yet confirmed the end of the bull market, we are definitely losing bullish momentum. In other words, we are slowing down in the bull market, and most likely due to see a larger cool off, which means at best some choppy sideways price action, possibly a bit more of a pullback within the next few weeks or months as a very likely scenario. And obviously, I've already been saying that every day for close to a month now, since basically the beginning of October. And so remember, the larger timeframes do not flip very often. I say basically the same thing every video here on the larger timeframes. Of course, if we're talking about the small timeframes, like here on the 6-hour chart, these small timeframes are looking at the short term, which means the moves are short-lived. They flip very often between bullish and bearish. So if you want to have quick day trades flipping around, of course, you look at the small timeframes. If you don't want me to flip around as much, pay attention to what I'm saying on the larger timeframes, which don't change very often. I've been saying over many years now, still in a bull market, but throughout the bull market, we have periods of large cool-offs, and right now we are in one of those periods, a larger cool-off in the price of Bitcoin that will at least likely last for at least a number of weeks, possibly a number of months. And so if in a month from now the price is roughly where it is right now, or maybe even a bit lower, don't say I didn't warn you. I've already been saying that for close to a month now. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, what has just happened over the last 1 day is of course a breakback below this important line on the price chart, which was previous important support and was acting as a bit of resistance here. And once again, we're now breaking back below that level. We've already now confirmed one daily candle close back below that level, which was sitting at in between roughly 110,500 to 111,000, and the latest daily candle close confirmed at roughly around 110k. And since then, the price has gone even lower, at least as of recording this video. And so this is actually a sign of weakness in the price structure for the price of Bitcoin on the daily time frame, because obviously we started to break out back above this line, which at that time was a short-term bullish signal and ultimately did help cause a bit more short-term bullish price action. But with that being said, now that we're breaking back below the line, once again, that's showing weakness because we failed to hold that as new support, which in that case would have been bullish price structure if we held this level. But once again, because the price did not hold that level as support again, it ultimately means we're losing bullish momentum. We did not really see a lot of follow through for that breakout, ultimately likely going to experience a larger cool off. So in other words, we're simply just playing out what we are seeing on the weekly time frame. Remember, the larger time frames are more important than the smaller time frames. So if something happens on a small time frame, like for example a bullish divergence, yes, that can play out in the short term, but ultimately the larger time frames play out over longer periods of time and in larger moves in the price of Bitcoin. And so that's why it's so important to understand the difference between the different time frames. One time frame could have a bullish divergence, another time frame could have a bearish divergence without contradicting each other, because of course we could see a short-term bullish relief during a larger cool-off, which we have currently seen over the last 1 to 2 weeks. But with that being said, taking another look at the shorter term here, looking at the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, it is now safe to say that this previous bullish divergence has already played its part and is no longer playing out. It's effectively now invalidated, because obviously it played out very nicely here since around the 17th of October all the way up until around 29th of October, give or take. Played it out over a couple of weeks or so in the form of a shorter term bullish relief, which is always the most common outcome, just a short term bullish relief or maybe some choppy sideways price action, most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. But as I always say, of course, we cannot ignore points of resistance on the price chart where the price could possibly struggle at or reject from, like what we perfectly did here at my exact resistance that I warned about before we rejected from that area, sitting in between around 115.5k to 116,000. So that's still acting as strong resistance for the price. And of course, I said only if we confirm a breakout with a candle close above 116k and hold above that level, only in that situation would I expect to move towards the next resistance at closer towards around 121,000. But obviously we did not end up confirming a breakout above 116,000. So that is still acting as strong resistance. And we've now actually broken back below this area of support, which was previous resistance here. And that's sitting in between around 111.6k to 112k. So obviously that is another short-term bearish signal, obviously helping further cause this drop towards the downside. And right now, the next support that I'll be watching, first of all, we could be running into a bit of support right here based on these lows in the price sitting at around 107,500, 107.5k, and below that expect a little bit more support at roughly around 105.5k. But if the price breaks below all of these previous lows just here, breaks below 105,000, in that situation, we could likely see a retest of these previous lows that we set back basically earlier in 2025. For example, around $100,000 would be a crucial level to watch out for, really in between 100,000 to 101,000 as the next strong area of support to watch out for, if we first, of course, break below these short-term levels of support that I just mentioned. And as for resistance, if we see any sort of bounce, obviously expect resistance now in this area in between 111.6k to 112k, and obviously continue to expect a lot of resistance in this exact area where we perfectly rejected from, sitting in between 115.5k to 116,000. And it is worth pointing out that if this pullback continues as it has been doing over the last day, then soon enough we could hit oversold here in the RSI on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, which of course means if we see an oversold signal, if this pulls back a little bit further, that would be a sign that we're reaching some sort of possible local low in the price, not necessarily the bottom, but due to see some sort of bounce or relief from the bearish price action if we hit oversold, which we are currently getting close to, but not there just yet. And so we still have potential room towards the downside that we need to consider. And remember, as always, on the weekly time frame, still have that massive bearish divergence that I've been talking about every day for a long time now, most likely going to cause a larger cool off, which means at best a larger sideways consolidation, quite possibly a further pullback within the next few weeks or months, kind of like what we saw around mid 2024, for example. And so with all of that being said, what is my trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin? How do I plan to make money in this Bitcoin and crypto market? And well, right now I am still in the trading strategy that I've been sharing every day for around 2 weeks now on the channel. It does not matter if the price is bullish or bearish, for as long as we see some sort of bounce or recovery eventually in the price of Bitcoin, this trading strategy makes money. Because as you can see right here, this is a futures trading bot, a futures grid bot, which basically is a trading bot that automatically buys Bitcoin as we drop lower at lower prices, and then automatically sells Bitcoin if we see any sort of bounce. So basically the only way this trading strategy will lose money is if we see a straight line towards the downside below my liquidation price. And in case you're wondering what that price would be, looking at my liquidation price right here, you can see first of all the price range I have set up for the grid orders. The grid of buy and sell orders is in between 70,000 to 130,000, and there's 188 different orders in that massive range right there. So buy and sell orders in between $70,000 per Bitcoin and 130K. So in that massive range in between 70K right here and 130K right around here, there's a bunch of buy and sell orders in that range. So for as long as Bitcoin stays in that range and ultimately plays out some sort of bounce or recovery to hit those sell orders to take profits along the way towards the upside, then the trading strategy makes money. But as I just said earlier, if the price continues a straight line towards the downside where it just buys Bitcoin along the way towards the downside without experiencing any sort of bounce back towards the upside, and if we go all the way below my liquidation price, which for this trading strategy is around $42,000 to $43,000 per Bitcoin, it's in that case where this trading strategy would lose money. And of course, that would basically mean a straight line all the way down here to around 41 to 42,000 without seeing any sort of decent bounce in between. And so obviously that is technically possible, but quite unlikely. Not financial advice, but that's simply my trading strategy, a relatively safe trading strategy. Of course, there's always risk involved when it comes to trading, but in terms of comparing this to, let's just say, a 100x short or long, this is relatively safer compared to other trading strategies out there. Once again, no guarantees, not financial advice. And it is also worth pointing out that the trend P&L here is basically the unrealized P&L for the Bitcoin that the trading strategy actually holds. So once again, as the price drops towards the downside, it buys more Bitcoin, which means the trading bot holds that Bitcoin so that if we eventually bounce back up, it can sell that Bitcoin at these sell orders here. But while it's holding onto the Bitcoin, if we're seeing a further drop in the price of Bitcoin, of course, there'll be an unrealized loss as the price goes lower. And so that basically means, yes, this trading strategy, even if we don't hit the liquidation price, it can go into an unrealized loss, but that unrealized loss can ultimately turn back into a profit for as long as we see any sort of decent bounce, whether that's a bounce from 90K, 100K, 80K, for as long as we see some sort of bounce, ideally above 70K back towards the upside, then once again, that trading strategy will make money. And so that's just a quick update on my current trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin. Still currently profitable, as you can see right here, despite this latest pullback in the price of Bitcoin, at least so far. And of course, if you want to copy this trading strategy of mine completely for free, you can do that using the second link below the video. In fact, the second link below this video will take you to this page right here where you can copy my exact trading strategy with a single click of a button. And on this page right here, you can see the profits it's been making, the APR, and also the current realized profit essentially from entry to where it is right now. Also, how long I've had this strategy open for, around 13 days, almost 2 weeks. And so once again, if you want to, as always, not financial advice, no guarantees, but if you want to, you can copy this trading strategy, which is basically this exact trading strategy that I'm currently using myself with my own money. And once again, it'll be the second link below the video. But in order to copy this trading strategy, because I have it set up over on my Pionex account, as you can see right here, of course, you'll need to have a Pinex account set up ready to go using one of the links below the video to actually make your Pinex account in order to copy this trading strategy. Unfortunately, if you don't use one of those links to make your Pinex account, this copy button simply will not work. And if you actually use the first link below this video, that first link will take you to this page right here, where you can also claim some massive bonuses over on Pinex. For example, if you simply just make an account, complete KYC, you get a 50 USDT bonus on your account. There's also deposit bonuses. If you deposit just 100 USDT, you get a 100 USDT bonus. If you deposit 10,000, you get a 1,000 USDT bonus into your Pinex account. Basically free money from the exchange, which you can actually use to go ahead and open this trading strategy if you want to. But once again, these bonuses right here are only available if you're using that first link below the video to make your account. And remember, this copy trading strategy right here is only available if you're also using one of the links below the video to make your Pinex account. So that's basically an update on my trading strategy, sharing with you completely for free here on YouTube how I'm planning to make some easy profits in this Bitcoin and crypto market, no matter what the price really does in the short term. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see that right now we still have that liquidity towards the upside at just above 116,000, around 116.4K, give or take. But we also now have a lot of liquidity building just below the price of Bitcoin at just above 106,000. So around 106.3K to 105.7K in that area, give or take 106,000. We currently have a lot of liquidity starting to build right there. So obviously that's sitting at roughly around here on the price chart, which is potentially now one of the reasons as to why we're seeing a bit of a pullback as the price is getting drawn towards that new liquidity building just below the price. And also, if you want to trade any of these moves using regular long positions or short positions on a no KYC exchange, personally for those sort of things, I like to use 2bit as another option out there that I also use. I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below the video. In fact, the third link will take you to this page right here, where you can also claim massive bonuses. If you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well take advantage of this. For example, if you make deposits and trades, you can get up to 10,000 USDT in trial fund bonuses and 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stable coins just by depositing and trading crypto using that link below the video to 2bit. And on top of that, without making any deposits or any trades, you can get a free $30 sign up bonus and 1 month free VIP 3 upgrade. So basically very cheap trading fees over on 2bit and essentially free money from the exchange, which you can use in your 2bit trades. But once again, only if you use that link. And once again, in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance on the daily time frame, and right now the Bitcoin dominance is still playing out this bullish divergence on this daily chart, which means continue to expect potentially a bit of choppy sideways price action, but most likely a slight bullish relief as really the most likely outcome, the most common outcome from a bullish divergence. And so obviously not a lot has changed over the last 1 day for the Bitcoin dominance. So getting straight into Ethereum, taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart. And right now the price of ETH has not yet fully confirmed the invalidation of this bullish divergence, but we're getting extremely close to possibly invalidating this bullish divergence, because if, for example, we confirm a candle close in the price below a previous low, or a candle close confirming a lower low in the RSI, those will be invalidation signals to invalidate the bullish divergence. And once again, right now we're getting very close to possibly confirming the end of this bullish divergence. And remember, a bullish divergence most likely plays out in either some choppy sideways price action or slight bullish relief. And over the last couple of weeks since after that flash crash, we basically saw a bunch of choppy sideways price action as expected, as one of the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term here on the 8-hour Ethereum price chart, of course, over the last few days, a couple of days ago, we perfectly rejected from my exact resistance that I warned about since before we even hit that level. And that's sitting in between around 42.50 to 42.80. So continue to expect strong resistance and likely rejections from that area. And of course, we actually broke below this area, which was previous resistance and for a short time was acting as a bit of support. But like I mentioned in my last video, we now have broken below that area, which was sitting in between around 40.60 to 4.1k. So like I said yesterday, that is a short-term bearish signal pointing towards potentially a continued drop coming very soon towards this next major area of support, which is sitting in between around 37.20 to 37.60. And over the last one day, that's exactly what has now happened, exactly as I talked about in my last video. Obviously, if we break below a key level, expect to move towards the next key level. If we break out above a key level, expect to move towards the next key level. Obviously, that works out very nicely many times here. And so, for example, if you shorted Ethereum at, let's just say 4,000, once we broke below this area and took profits at this area of support, that would have been a nice quick trade using my analysis. But with that being said, we are now running into this support at around 37.20 to 37.60. And so far, as of recording this video, we're currently finding a small amount of support in this area. So it's possible we could hold this area for a little while, maybe even see a slight bounce, especially if Bitcoin has some sort of slight bounce very soon. But as always, when it comes to Ethereum and really any altcoin out there, pay attention to what Bitcoin and also what the US stock market is doing to figure out what could be likely going to happen for the rest of the crypto market. For example, if US stock market is dumping, if the price of Bitcoin is dumping, it's unlikely that your favorite altcoin out there will be massively pumping towards the moon if all of these major assets are currently dumping. And so definitely keep an eye on this. Obviously, the longer this goes on for Bitcoin and the US stock market, the higher chance that we could break below this area of support for Ethereum, which if that actually happens, of course, that'll be not good news. We'll likely see a move at least down towards roughly 3,500 is a very likely scenario. If, of course, we first confirm a break below this area of support, which we are currently testing right now. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now Solana has just perfectly rejected from this exact level of resistance at around $200. Really, this area in between 190 to 200 has been acting as strong resistance for a while now over the last 1 to 2 weeks. And we did attempt a possible breakout above this area, but never confirms that 2-day candle close above this area, which means we never confirmed the breakout. We were only just possibly testing a breakout, possibly attempting a breakout, but never fully confirmed. So obviously this is still acting as strong resistance right now and currently experiencing another rejection from this area. So in terms of support to watch out for, if we continue a further pullback here, the next significant support to watch out for is in between roughly 170 to 175. And as for resistance, once again, still expect resistance at this area in between 190 to 200 and more resistance at close to $209 to $210. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 8-hour time frame, the price is still relatively chopping around sideways, as we could see in a bit of a sideways price range. And so at least so far as of recording this video, in terms of the price structure or the shorter term trend, we're not really overly bullish or overly bearish. We're actually looking relatively neutral as the price is currently forming some slight lower highs now after also having a brief higher high, and the price is still currently in higher lows, but still in basically for the most part a sideways price range, which is a relatively neutral price structure or a relatively neutral trend. Of course, during the choppy sideways price action, we can see short-term bullish moves and short-term bearish moves, but overall we're actually looking relatively neutral, at least for now. But once again, pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing to figure out what is likely going to happen for a lot of altcoins. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, of course, right now XRP is still pulling out this massive bearish divergence that I warned about at almost the all-time highs, around $3.40 back at the end of July, early August. I warned about this bearish divergence, telling everyone about a major pullback coming over the next few months when no one believed me back then, but right now it has been playing out. So obviously this is still currently active on the weekly XRP price chart. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, obviously in the somewhat shorter term over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we have been seeing a shorter term bullish divergence perfectly play out here in the form of a short term bullish relief. But we ran into this exact level of resistance here where we perfectly rejected from from, sitting in between around $2.60 to $2.70. And so obviously this is why we cannot ignore points of resistance on the price chart where the price could struggle or possibly reject from those levels, which is why I always talk about points of resistance. I only really talk about things that are worth actually mentioning here on the channel, like for example, a bearish divergence affecting the price on the larger time frames, points of support and resistance where the price could bounce from or reject from. Right now, we're perfectly rejecting from this exact resistance right here, potentially on our way towards retesting this next area of support, sitting in between around $2.30 to $2.40. And of course, over the last one day, with this latest pullback, a further rejection from this resistance, over the last one day, this has now officially confirmed the invalidation of this previous inverse head and shoulders pattern. It obviously started out quite nicely here. We made it roughly halfway between the breakout and the price target, but the moment we ran into the resistance in between $2.60 to $2.70, that's exactly where the price started to struggle at, exactly as I warned about since before we actually hit that resistance. And so this is why I always mention when it comes to a breakout trading opportunity, when it comes to my trading strategy, not financial advice, I like to take some profits off the table, slightly reducing the size of, let's just say, a long position in this case, reducing the size of the trade, taking some profits just under key points of resistance or around key points of resistance in case the price potentially rejects from those points. In that situation, you would have already have secured some profits out of that trade. And of course, moving a stop loss at least towards the entry, ideally moving a stop loss into profits so that in the worst case scenario, you're still coming away with profits, even if we don't fully hit the price target. That's just simply explaining some basic risk management, which can treat you very nicely over the long run if you're trading crypto. As always, not financial advice. I'm just sharing my trading strategies that I've been working for almost a decade now in crypto. But with that being said, taking a look at Chainlink on the daily time frame, and right now Chainlink has basically invalidated this bullish divergence. Technically, we still need to wait for this confirmation to fully confirm this breakdown in the RSI, but right now we're starting to break below this ascending line of support in the RSI, and especially if we break below a previous low in the price in the candle closes, there'll be another invalidation signal to invalidate the bullish divergence. But overall, of course, this bullish divergence did play out very nicely over the last 1 to 2 weeks in the form of a slight bullish relief, a bit of choppy sideways price action here and there, which are really the most common outcomes, the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. But overall, as I've been saying pretty much this entire time, even though, yes, we're playing out a shorter term bullish relief as a result of this bullish divergence, the larger trend is technically still bearish, forming lower highs and lower lows. So I've been comparing what we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks to kind of like what we saw around end of September entering into early October. For example, yes, a bullish relief in the shorter term, but still technically within a larger bearish trend. And so this could possibly just be the continuation of the trend with the next leg down. And if that's really the case, in that situation, the next points of support that I'll be watching are, first of all, this level right here. We could find some support around this previous low based on the daily candle closes here, sitting at roughly $16.50 to $16.60, give or take. And below that, expect a lot of support in between $15.20 to $15.70. And as for resistance, if we see any sort of bounce in the short term, expect resistance now at roughly $17.30 to $17.50, more resistance at around $19 to $20. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, like what I'm currently doing right now, to easily profit in the crypto market, then make sure to check out the links below the video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take these sort of trades to continue to profit in crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.